Cedric Maxwell podcast
is brought to you by PrizePicks.
All right, what's going on, people? John Zannis, Cedric Maxwell here. After a short break, we're back with another episode of the Cedric Maxwell podcast, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. And the show, as always, Max, as you know, brought to you by PrizePicks, largest daily fantasy sports platform in all of North America. Download that PrizePick app today. Use code CLNS. Get 50 instantly when you play 5. Code CLNS on PrizePicks. 50 instantly when you play 5. PrizePicks, run your game. And if you haven't signed up, I know you're going to want to because football season is upon us. That's where I've been spending all my time, Max. I don't want you to think I'm neglecting you. It's just basketball's a little boring these days, but there's definitely stuff to talk about. Well, we're all looking at Drake May and what's going to happen and down in Foxborough and hanging out. It's got like first day of school vibes when training camp begins.
Well, let me tell you this. It'll be a good one for you. I went to UNC Charlotte.
Yep.
And one of the first games that Bill Belichick is going to have is going to be at UNC Charlotte. North Carolina Chapel Hill versus Charlotte in Charlotte for a football game. So they're building the bleachers. Everything is coming out. They got like 10 or 12 more thousand seats they put in. So, Bill Belichick has come with me. He's come down to the South and come to my hometown. That's going to be real interesting.
Yeah, he's there. It's going to be.
And his girlfriend.
And his girlfriend. I barely watch college football anymore, and Bill's given me a reason to watch. I'm fascinated to see what happens down there. Also fascinating what's going to happen with the Celtics as everything appears, the wheels appear to have stopped moving, and I think realization has set in that this is the team. This is the team that they are entering the season with. We're going to talk about realistic expectations for this band of players that Brad Stevens has assembled entering this season with all of the losses. Everybody knows it now, and not much movement going on and really not much else expected to happen, but there might be a thing or two. We're going to talk about a former Celtic donning the Lakers purple and gold. We'll also talk about Luka, new look Luka, and his potential revenge tour with the Lakers this year as he got himself thin and fit and sexy ahead of next season. So we'll talk about that as well. But the first things first, I know a lot of people have seen it on social media. And again, during this point in the offseason, there's not much to hang any hope on. But I do think some recent pictures and videos of your two favorite Celtics, one being Jaylen Brown, the other, of course, Jayson Tatum, surfacing have given fans a little bit of hope. Jaylen Brown was seen working out, however much, a month or so post meniscus, with the feeling that he's going to be totally fine when the season rolls around. I think that makes people feel good. But then there's Jayson Tatum, who I know Max has piqued your curiosity. He's walking around without a boot. And a lot of people are kind of wondering, hey, is this a thing? Are we ahead of schedule? What's going on here? So I don't know what we are, Max, but I do know that it's better to see him not hobbling around at this point, even though, again, expectation is we're not really going to see him this year.
Well, the leg looked like my leg. It was that skinny when I think about it. It didn't look like the muscular, cut down version of him. But it was good to see him walking. There was a little limp going on, but I think it really it puts things more and more in reality. If you think of the season, it will start probably about 3 months from now, someplace in the area, that there's no way he's going to be back then. And the anticipation, again, for him to come back this year, I just don't think it's realistic. I don't see anybody thinking that, other than the most ardent fan, thinking that, he'll be back, he's going to be back, and the Celtics are going to do this and do that. But I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, beyond seeing it happening, I don't know what people – I would say I'm still really confused, Max. I don't know what people want to see happen here. I don't understand – the mindset of the fan right now. You talk about the stages of grief. And I do think that people are still stuck in a little bit of denial about what's actually happened to this team and what this year is going to look like. I think it's sunk in for some people, and others are, well, if this happens, if that happens, and actually they'll be good and the East is bad. And what if Tatum comes back? I'm not understanding that. So again, I'll ask you, you're entering the year and you got to put a happy homer face on, and you're on the home team broadcast, and you got to try to paint this with paint a sunny picture of what's happening. So I get it, but what do you actually think is going to happen right now? Like, if this is the team you're breaking camp, and it might not be, all indications are that they're trying to get rid of Anthony Simons, which means you're trying to get rid of another player who can play for players who may or may not help you, but they will bring you cap relief, which would make the rotation even worse. But let's just say this is the team they start the season with. What's your vibe?
My vibe with this particular team is they're going to be battling to be a playoff team. Considering, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at it this way. All the people you beat up over the last couple of years, there's a revenge factor for them too. Yeah, they're the Clevelands of the world, the Orlandos, those teams right now. The Knicks right now should be the best team right now in the East. Cleveland is right there. Those two teams will be battling. And Detroit, who you beat up on many times. Those teams are going to be looking for you. So for the Celtics to be a team, I don't think they're going to be a top 6 team. I think you're talking about 7 or 8, with their record, considering the movement and the players that you don't have and all the question marks. Is Kata going to be your center this year? Who is your center? Luke Cornett is gone. Look at Al Horford, gone. All those players that you looked at who have been so productive over the last couple of years, those players are gone. And this is just the reality of it. It's not me saying anything else. These guys aren't here. Luke was really good last year, and he cashed in. And he is down in San Antonio. I think it's a good situation for him. So it's just, why are you smiling right now? What's the smile for?
Nothing. Sometimes I smile.
Now, it's something on you. You just don't smile, John. There's always that deviant look. If you did that around your wife, what would she say?
I don't know. I don't think she pays
attention. What's the smile about?
She doesn't pay much attention to me.
Mr. Smiley, what's the smile about?
Everything I do just elicits an eye roll at this point, so it doesn't matter.
So I just think it's that team in this perspective when you look at them. I always talk about Scheierman, the next John Havlicek coming up. I think he's going to be a really good player.
Well, I'm going to get into Baylor in a little bit too.
I think people are going to surprise. He's going to surprise people. I think you're going to be talking about the summer league, what he did in the summer. Yeah, nobody cares about what happened in Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So
I'll ask you about it because I am a little concerned. He was terrible, and a terrible shooting in Vegas. Combined 17 for 62, 27.4% from the field. 8 of 39 on his threes in 4 summer league games. Now, you're a second-year player there, and you're supposed to be comfortable. You've had some NBA experience under your belt. This is summer league. Someone like Baylor Scheierman, I would imagine, just based on what he was able to do in Maine last year, should have looked better. It's only a snapshot, a few games. But how worried? You're not worried at all? Because forget it. I'm going to rephrase this.
No.
I want to rephrase it because I don't want to ask you how worried are you about his Vegas performance because it doesn't matter. It's Vegas. What I want to ask is there a path to playing successfully for Baylor Scheierman in the NBA if he can't consistently knock down shots?
Well, I think that he will consistently knock down shots. I think he's a really good shooter. He understands the game at a high level. And sometimes when you're playing with guys who don't know how to play or who aren't going to be in the NBA, they take your game down. The Vegas Summer League, that league.
Of course they do. Yeah, good point.
That league is about point guard play and about scrambling. And if you don't have the ball, sometimes guards aren't giving it up. So I don't particularly worry about him. I have a good buddy named Larry Haney who played, basketball. He was the point guard. And Larry Haney always talked about what would happen in the summer. I was like, it doesn't matter what happens in the summer because you have your ball hogs who are playing point guard who might not have given them the basketball. And sometimes if you get the ball in the wrong position, I don't care if you're the best player. Now, for me, as you're saying, as a second-year guy, I would think that this would be, I want to see what happens once he gets back into the rotation and starts playing against regular complementary players. I think that's when you're going to see a real upside. And we saw glimpses of him last year. Who was really good this year in the summer? Walsh, I heard, had a real good summer. But last year, he wasn't good at all during the regular season. So I think it's a growing situation for everybody. But what I like about him is basketball IQ. And that's something that you never underestimate.
Yeah. And again, he has it, but it's a make miss league. And he's got to be, he's got to be a guy who's knocking it down. I don't want to put a number on it, but he's got to be a guy who's in, the high 30% range from three, when he's taking those shots. He has to be a guy who can, catch and shoot and, be able to generate his own offense some. If he struggles shooting, I don't know that he does everything else well enough to be able to get minutes.
I think he's a pretty good defender. And I liked him in that. But here we go. Here's the head roll again. Here's I think he's going to be a pretty good defender. He moves his feet well. He makes steals in the open court. He anticipates well. I just really like his game, and
I like him too.
I could miss. This could be one of those things that Cedric Maxwell missed on. He missed initially when he played against Larry Bird for the first time ever. Before Larry stepped on the court, he didn't give Larry a grain of salt that he could play. And then after he started, now, damn, it was a whole nother thing. Scheierman, I've got a chance to see some of him, and I love his instinct, to play the game. And that's the big thing about a lot of guys I watch. I'm going, if you were a professional player before, you can watch a guy for 2 or 3 minutes, and you're going, he can play. What? I remember JoJo White doing that with me. He looked at me one time, and he was on the sideline, and he said, and he was talking to somebody else, he said, and I remember the words was like this, bitch can play. That was always a bitch can play. Yeah. And that was so cool for me to just kind of hear that because game recognizes game.
Yeah. 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 And look, he looks the part. He definitely understands the game. He does have a good IQ. I think his passing is great. I think people quickly compare him to like a Hauser because he's a white dude who plays the wing and can shoot, but his game is totally different. So he can do a lot of different things.
But he's a lot more athletic than Hauser.
I don't know. Hauser if he can get to the point of, if he can defend as well as Hauser has, which is to remain competitive, I think he can stay on the floor, but he's got to shoot it. So I want to see it, because one way or the other, he's in there. He's fixed in that rotation. He's getting at least 15, 20 minutes a game next year, just based off of need. If somebody goes down, it could be even more. So ready or not, you're getting the Baylor Scheierman thing. Before I move on with the rest of your summer league, observations, if you have any, and again, I know it's in the rearview mirror here, but we haven't gotten to hear from you on it. You talked about, hey, maybe Max is wrong here, and you talked about Larry Bird. Is there another player you can think of you were certain was going to be very good and were dead wrong on? Is there a guy?
How about bad? How about I didn't think they would be as good? I thought they'd be okay. Steph Curry. I missed out completely.
Yeah.
I didn't see Steph Curry being Steph Curry. But hell, Steph Curry's dad didn't see him being Steph Curry. So it wasn't just me who thought that. Did I think that Steph Curry would change the nature of the game? No, I didn't. I did not see that at all. There was times I've missed out on people. Let me see, a Hall of Famer that I'd say, I'm trying to think of his name. Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace, I didn't see Ben Wallace as a Hall of Famer. Hell, how about Chauncey Billups? My first couple of years, Chauncey Billups was here with Rick Pitino. And Rick Pitino sent him out after 10 games, became a Hall of Famer. So sometimes you grow into the game. You have to grow into your position or grow into a situation. I think this is a great situation right now for Scheierman and other players right now because you're going to get the opportunity. All those minutes right now that Tatum had, all those minutes right now that Brown had, those minutes right now are up for grabs. And if you can't get them right now, when are you going to get them?
Yeah, I mean, it's now. There's a lot of people out there who could kind of rush to the front of that line there because I think it's pretty wide open. But one way or the other, Scheierman's playing. A guy who I was dead wrong on, non-Celtic, even though they technically drafted him, even though they drafted him for the Grizzlies, was Troy Bell out of BC. I was positive Troy Bell was going to be a great player, and he didn't do anything in this league. Rest of the summer league, I don't know how much of it you got to see, but your early impressions on their first round pick, Hugo Gonzalez. I love the energy, but I'm not seeing a guy who's anywhere close to playing in the NBA right now.
Well, see, that's the thing about it. You can say energy is cool. Energy and desire are things you can't teach a guy. But at the end of the day, I think that what you have to have is you put it together once you get on the court. I don't think you can judge a guy until, Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Everybody think they can play in the NBA till their first step out there. I mean, my first inkling of me in the NBA was me scoring on George Gervin. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, oh man, I just scored on George Gervin, the Iceman. And he patted me on the butt and said, I remember the words, well, too bad they got another end of the floor, young fella. Like, damn. It's like that. Did you just disrespect me and you patted me up, a nice shot, and then go disrespect me like that? Yeah, he did. And then it's, it just goes down the line of guys you see and guys you play with, guys will elbow you in the stomach, and they're testing you. They test you. I remember there was a guy named Caldwell Jones who played with the Philadelphia 76ers, was their center, power forward. And it was my second year in the league. And just came down, elbowed me in the stomach. And later on, when I got a chance to know him, I said, why'd you do that? He said, just a test. Just a test. And, test for what? He's like, yeah, just see if you're going to back down, see how you're going to react, And the thing about it, people aren't going to waste elbows on people who can't play. They're not going to waste them. They hit you for a reason because they feel that you're a threat. And then they want to see if you can really be a threat.
Speaking of Gervin, how come nobody finger rolls anymore, Max?
Well, because what's the point of finger rolling? Because you can't do it from the 3-point line.
It looks cool though.
It's cool, but it's ineffective now.
It's just style.
It's about the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Your ventures now, layups are almost passe now.
Yeah.
It's now if you can't hit the 3, then how are you in this league? I mean, that's why everybody's talked about Luka. Luka said, I remember when his teammates said that, and I think it was Chandler Parsons said, Luka Doncic is better than Larry Bird. I was like, how can he say that? First of all, Larry could kind of, defend his position. Luka was defenseless. Now, even with this weight loss that we see, and look like he's done a great job of understanding, look, if he wants to be in this league, if he wants to play well, he's going to have to lose some weight. Well, he's done that. But does that help you defend the basketball? That'd be a question.
Yeah, it can't hurt. And again, we'll dig into Luka.
Because you're skinnier, it makes you a better defender?
I mean, I just think being in better shape just allows you to be more athletic. To me, defense is athleticism and will. And if you and you need both, right? You need both of those things for sure. And like I said, we're gonna get into Luka because I think that is an interesting little development that's going on over there. But on the Hugo topic, what did you see? What do you see in that guy in general? Because again, he's a kid. But he might get some minutes this year, which is probably way earlier than he should.
Yeah, I see high energy. I see that. I see him trying to get into this lineup and understand that, everybody's talking about the Euro step and all that. He has that. The thing about European players right now, probably better suited for the NBA because fundamentally, I think that they're better. Physically, maybe not as good, but fundamentally, dribbling, passing, moving out the basketball, the Euro step, they've learned a lot of their stuff early, whereas our NBA players, it took some time. Remember the first guy that was kind of Euro stepping in the NBA? I'm like, Euro step, what is that? Now everybody, Euro step. I got the Euro step walking in, where I still call it walking. And even with these guys who do this one move, and Tatum, Brown, everybody does it, where they'll go forward and then they go jump behind the three-point line without moving their feet. To me, that's called traveling. You know, I got a buddy of mine who's sitting here talking to me now. We're talking about dribbling now. People don't dribble anymore. What they do, they carry. Everybody carries a basketball. During the 80s, if I watch guys like Tatum or Brown bring the ball down, it's their hands are going like this. Yeah. Like they're working at the IHOP turning over pancakes.
Yeah.
That's not how you dribble the ball. Mr. Naismith did not put that in the rules.
Well, it was added. It was added after the fact.
What was added?
The Euro step, allowing to take 2 steps after collecting.
The carry.
Oh, the carry.
The carrying of the basketball.
The carry's insane.
I don't give a damn.
What's allowed there? But again, we got tired of watching Kuzi, slapping the ball. We trying to add a little bit of style. Sarunas Marciulionis, by the way, for those at home, person who introduced the Euro step to the modern NBA, even though Ginobili probably popularized it, but that was one of the first guys, Lithuanian player, Sarunas Marciulionis. You mentioned evolution of the three-pointer, Max. I'll ask you a question before we take a quick pause, but let's say you grew up in today's modern NBA and you say layups are passé and the way that you would score the basketball isn't necessarily what teams and coaches are looking for. If you had to dedicate your time and your training and your off season to getting your three-point shot right, and you spent your entire life working on it, Cedric Maxwell in this league would have been a blank three-point shooter. What do you think?
Been a real good one.
You think you would have been good?
Real good. Been a real good one because I watch Al Horford. Al Horford now has become a very good three-point shooter.
Yeah.
Al Horford, when he first got in the league, wasn't a three-point shooter. He wasn't a threat. And then he started shooting the threes and he started developing and working on that. Hell, you think of Larry Bird. How many threes did he attempt for his career compared to some of these guys now? How you know that's so different is when I saw that, I think it was, he has shot more threes. Draymond Green has made more threes than Larry Bird.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, but that shows you where the game is now. No kick at all to Draymond Green, but Larry Bird, I'm sure you want, even he would want Larry Bird to take a three before he would take a three. But the game is developing that way that guys are shooting threes at a higher pace. And I mean, for me, I only can talk about it this way. John only shot one for my career, only made one. I was 1 for 11. And the other ones I shot, I might have attempted 3, but the other ones were just heave holes as the ball was, time was running down.
Late in the clock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not on purpose, but yeah. Interesting. I'm curious how different it would look for a lot of players because people would have styled their games a lot differently. How does
Robert Parrish fit in the game?
Yeah, it's hard to cross compare.
How does Kareem fit in the game?
I mean, again, without post up, being a valuable part of a team's offense, it's weird to think it, but like high percentage shots are high percentage shots. If you're shooting 65% around the rim, 70%, there's going to be a place for you, but it would have been weird. It would have been different, for sure. Big men in general, obviously the traditional big man is definitely phased out. I think because Robert was such a good athlete and could run, he would have been fine.
Don't go there. Please don't go there. Robert Parrish is a 3-point shooter. Don't go there.
I don't think he could shoot.
No, Robert was already heaving the ball behind his head.
No. Bill Cartwright could not shoot threes. Robert Parrish.
Cartwright.
Look what happened to Look what happened to Kevin. Look what happened to Kevin McHale later in his career. He figured it out.
Bill Walton.
Yeah.
Kevin wasn't an effective 3-point shooter. He knocked down a few, but no.
He started to work on it.
We can look at some of the greatest players that ever played the game were not 3-point threats.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. J, who I guarded, wasn't a 3-point threat.
No, the question is whether they would have spent time working on it.
Yes, everybody would have. Everybody would have because the game changed. It evolved. The game evolved into something that some of us don't recognize now.
Yeah, and then who would have been better at it than we would have given him credit for? Anyway, we've got more to talk about on Cedric Maxwell podcast. We're going to take a quick pause to hear from our sponsor.
Pay the bills, baby. Pay the bills.
Pay the bills. The Cedric Maxwell podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. PrizePicks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Pick more or less on at least 2 players to win up to 2,000 times your cash. How do you play? That's simple. You can pick one sport, cross sports, doesn't matter. Pick more or less on any of the stats offered on the platform, and you can pick 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter. It's that simple. For me personally, I like to settle in on one game, see what's going on. That way I can track it, players on both sides, and that's how I like to make my selections, but you can play however you want. The most important thing for you to do is download that app and use the code CLNS. That's code CLNS, and you get 50 put into your account as soon as you play 5. All you have to do is play 5, get 50 when you use the code CLNS. In addition to that special offer, there's a lot of other great features on PrizePicks. Taco Tuesday, where you get a discounted stat or a discounted player. Freaky Friday, lots of free squares, which basically just allows you to insert something into your lineup, which is almost certain to hit. Makes it that much easier to win your cash. So once again, download that app today. Use code CLNS, play 5, and get 50 instantly in your account. Once again, download the app, code CLNS, get 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, Max, earlier in the show, we talked about how it looks like the Celtics are mostly finished, but there's this annoying, weird rumor that's been trickling around for the last couple of weeks that they are front runners for Ben Simmons, of all people. And again, my arc of interest in Ben Simmons over the years has been interesting, because I do think at his prime he had elite traits, able to be in transition, his court vision, and his ability to defend. And I always thought that it didn't.
He still has that for the most part. He still has elite speed. He has great handling ability. He defends well. His court vision is amazing. Do you want to take a flyer and bring him in? How many more games does he win you? Or how many more games does he lose for you? Or does he stifle somebody who is on your bench right now? I think that's the question that you have to look at. He's not your future.
He's definitely not the future. But I mean, again, I have my opinions. Do you want to see it possible? Do you want to see it happen?
Again, I just don't know where he fits in. I mean, Brad ultimately has to answer that question. And I can sit here and say no today, and next thing you know, they signed Ben. They signed him. I'd be like, there was a guy that I remember, and I love this one. I remember when the Celtics signed Brian Scalabrine. I was like, what? We signed who? For what? Brian Scalabrine, I love him right now. I do love him. But as a player, I didn't think much about his game to come in and for the Celtics to go out and give him a contract. But those are the decisions that the big boys make. Those are the ones they make. So if he comes in, here's the thing about, I'm going to be very, very curious of how he plays in Boston. I think I would like it more than I dislike it, because you're not throwing good money after bad. You're not mortgaging the future with him. You're pretty much going to get him on a couple of cents on the dollar. So yeah, and he still has some talent.
This goes back to the thing I said at the top of the show, which
what you just did then? You just did a Stevie Wonder on me. What the hell? What the hell was that?
I was shaking the thoughts out of my head. The thing it goes back to the thing I said at the top of the show, Max. I don't know what people want here. Again, I know fans don't want to root for losses, but do you really want wins? Do you want a guy do you want a guy who come in and help a little so you get a couple more wins? what's the point? Like, and again, at the risk of development or playing other people, Ben Simmons is a guy I'd be willing to take a flyer on a very good team when he gets bought out in the middle of the year on a veteran minimum, and you bring him in and see if he contributes. And if he doesn't, you toss him overboard. I got no problem with that. Hey, maybe he's that wing depth you need behind Tatum and Brown. Give them a little rest. Eat some minutes, play some defense, works with that second unit as a distributor. Maybe you're working him down in the 4 slot, point forward, whatever have you. Sure, I do that on a decent team and see if it pans out, see if like the winning culture. I don't want to bring this loser on a loser team because I don't want him to win, and I don't want to win with him, and I don't want to lose with him. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so that means hell no.
It means hell no. However, that's the no. There's two buckets.
There's no however.
There is.
When you said I don't want to win with him and I don't want to lose.
There is Max. There is the duality of my existence. Part of it is basketball fan / guy who's thinking sensibly about what is good or bad for the team, or having an emotional response to things as a person who follows these sports and has followed the Celtics his entire life. There's that guy who's like, hell's no. Then there is the merchant of chaos, anything for content producer guy, which has also been part of my life. And that guy desperately wants Ben Simmons here because holy crap, is that a fun story? Whether he does well or does poorly, it's great content. So yeah, strictly for the content, that part of me wants.
Can you see Bobby Manning going to Ben right now? Our great Bobby Manning going to Ben. So Ben, how do you feel about being here? And then let Ben kind of go from there. I don't know. I'm like you. It'll be fascinating. I think it'd be fascinating in so many. But why do we stop when we see a wreck on the side of the road? Why do we slow? Why do you have people?
I love it.
Why do we have rubberneckers always? Hey, look what happened. Could this be the same thing if you brought him to Boston? I mean,
it has the potential. Like I said, that's like I said, the merchant of chaos. Part of me is like, oh, how bad can this get? And it could get bad, and Ben Simmons could help make it really bad, but it would be interesting. A Ben Simmons resurgence and renaissance would also be extremely interesting. There's a lot of reasons why I find it interesting to cover, but as a fan and someone who deep down wants to see more losses to get them higher into the draft next year and try to reboot that reset and get Tatum some help right away, and Brown and White when they're coming back and healthy with some more flexibility. I want to see him be bad so they can get good faster. It's not but I don't know what Ben Simmons does for you, but it would be interesting as hell. Another guy who's always been a polarizing figure, Marcus Smart, really rough go. I do feel horrible for Marcus. It's like, your wife leaves you and then, goes and marries like, a billionaire, and they, in this fancy house, and your kids call him dad right away. And you just got to sit there. You got to sit there and watch. And that's what happened to poor Marcus, right? Like, he had to sit there and watch the Celtics win a title without him, watch everyone talk about how great Holiday is and all of this stuff. So, personally, I think he's absolved of anything else that happens in his career. He's been injured. He didn't help out where he went there. It's just been really bad. Now he signs with the Lakers, and there's like, oh, how could he? First of all, Marcus Smart owes the Celtics nothing. No, not the way I'm not going to say they did him dirty. It's a business, but it was bad. Okay, they shipped him out for an upgrade, won a title, and now he's just had to sit there and watch it and wonder what if. Now he's going to the Lakers, and people are bothered by this, and I don't understand that.
Isn't that interesting how you said that? And I was shipped out for Bill Walton.
Yeah, same exact thing.
And I went to Los Angeles, and they won the championship without me.
You saw it.
I know a lot of people right now, get over it. Why don't you just get over yourself? But no, we're talking about a similar situation. When you live and die with a team and you've been there And Marcus came there from the beginning, just like I was from the beginning. And all of a sudden they ship you out and you win the championship. There is a certain way that you feel. But as you're saying, you don't owe anybody jack shit. You don't owe, the fans of Celtics, you owe me, you don't owe anybody anything because, you're playing with the dreaded Lakers. Now, do I hate the fact that he went to Los Angeles? Yes, I do. Will he help them? Possibility. Can he stay healthy? But with Laker guards right now, where is he going to fit in? Because Luka gets most of the time. They got other guards there who are playing. Where does Marcus fit in, and where does he play? Because
he fits where he should fit, which is a bench spark plug coming in there for defense, occasional closer. And that's when I always talk about Marcus Smart and how I felt about him here, that's what I felt he was. I felt he was a sixth man who got thrust into a starting role and was asked to do things that were beyond his skill set. He shot more than he needed to shoot because other teams kind of wanted him to shoot. And they were kind of tilting the defense that way because Marcus couldn't really shoot, couldn't generate his own offense. And it wasn't a classic, get the ball and distribute it sort of point guard. He was a really solid player who could do a lot of different things. There's a place on every team for Marcus Smart.
Was Holiday a real good 3-point shooter?
I mean, he was in his first year. He's one of the top 5 in the league. It's just he really cratered this year. But Holiday coming over had consistently shot around 40% from 3 for the last 4 or 5 seasons. So they knew they were getting somebody who offensively could knock down open shots and generate his own offense. Marcus could not as much, but defensively and floor general sort of stuff, they brought a lot of the same stuff. But that was always my problem with Marcus. But there will be a spot for him. I just want to go back. You mentioned it earlier. Like what you felt in the same situation. Difference between you and Marcus is only that you had won twice and he had never won. So you at least got a piece of it. But at the same time, they send you out. And then 86 is talked about as one of the greatest teams of all time. Bill Walton's the best sixth man who's ever lived.
Don't make me throw up in the back of my throat. Please.
How even today?
Don't start talking about 86 is the greatest team of all times. Please don't say that. Okay. Because if you're the greatest team of all times, you win more than one championship. Hello? Is anybody listening here? You win more than one championship. Don't tell me this crap about getting hurt and all this. If you are one of the great elite teams in the history, I heard Bob Walton, Bob Ryan talk about this. And Bob Ryan said they're one of the greatest teams ever to play. If you're the greatest team to ever play, Bob, you got to come up with more.
Single season.
No, it's not said.
Well, they did win, Max. They won with you in 84.
You didn't hear people say that. They said one of the greatest teams ever to play, period. I heard nobody say
it's a continuation.
I've never heard anybody say, even my broadcast partner asked me about that.
It's a continuation of what you built.
How do you feel that they're one of the greatest teams ever to play? I said, no. And he said, you can't say that. I said, well, you asked me a question, and I think I'm supposed to answer it not the way you want it. But if you want me to tell you the truth, the fact is that I want my team, who is one of the greatest teams ever to play, to win more than one championship. Were they elite in the season that they played? Yes, they were. But for the greatest teams of all time, no, they weren't, because you did not win enough games for me.
Fair enough.
Want to quote me on it? Please do. That's what I'm saying.
Like I said, it's a matter of how you interpret the question. If you're talking about a single season, which I think people do, because when they talk about teams, when you're ranking them, you rank 86 Celtics, 84 Celtics, 2008 Celtics. You're ranking just that season and how they were there. But yes, obviously, being able to win more than one creates, this vibe that.
Do you think that they were greater than Paul Pierce's team and Kevin?
As on its own, yes. And as I said, to me, 86 is the end of what was being built, starting with the arrival of Larry and Kevin and Robert and you having won 2 titles, 81 and 84, and 86 was the end with some tweaks. So I view it as that Celtics era won the 3 titles, not the 86 team came short of realizing their expectations by not winning more. They'd already
give me a trash can, Larry. Give me a trash can. So this man about to make me throw up. And never mind. Go on. Let's go.
So my question to you is: to this day, the vibes there. Again, you've been back with the Celtics organization, this and that. But how long do you harbor something like that? If you're Marcus Smart in interviews, Marcus Smart. I feel so bad having watched him the last couple of years because he says the right things, and I'm happy for those guys and this and that. But he looks 80% dead inside, like it really it hurt him, and of course it did, because one of the things I loved about Marcus is Marcus loved being a Celtic. You can't say that about everybody who's here, and I hate moving guys who love it here. I hate it, even if I think that the players coming back are better. That's the worst part of it. Some people are here and they could be somewhere else and they'd be happy too. He loved it. He loved every part of it, the good and the bad. And he left it all out there. So I felt I still feel horrible. How long were you harboring that? Like me, you're trading me. Like, you don't want me. How long does that stick with you? How long did it stick with you?
Let's see. Well, what's today? When did I get traded? And then what is today?
Tuesday, July 29th, 2026.
Okay.
2025.
When did I get traded?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
40 years. You okay?
Am I still talking right now like I loved it or something? Yeah. You harbor some resentment because of them trading you away. For me, it wasn't necessarily the trade, because it was more about the business. It was more about, for me, it was more about attacking my integrity and saying, hey, I didn't work hard enough, or I didn't want to be here, or this didn't happen, and he didn't work hard after his injury. I know what I did. I know how I busted my ass. But then for those people to say that, and then to put an asterisk on it, and then to say, well, and you've heard this I've heard Tom Heinsohn say that even we watched me play a game when I was hurt in 1985. And he said, well, Max has to play better than that if they're going to win a championship. Well, do you realize we have 4 Hall of Famers? Were there 4 Hall of Famers there when I was there? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So what are you saying about me if that's the case?
Yeah. Well, so I'll ask you this. Let's say on Christmas Eve this year, you're visited by the ghost of Red Auerbach, and you had your chance to give him the piece of your mind over that. What would you say?
Close the door. Click. Sorry, Red. You can't come in. Because, I've never, I will always stay in my mind of just the things that were said. And even the money that I lost during that time, because they just irritated me so bad. I just told my attorney, just the first thing that we can get out of here, let me get out of here. The Bill Walton trade, for those who don't know it, I was traded for Bill Walton to the Clippers. For those who don't know it, that deal would not have gone through if, in fact, I hadn't gone back and worked out. Because once I got traded, very much like what happened with Holiday, I was damaged goods going out to LA, and they wanted to take that trade back. In order for me that trade to go forward, I had to work my ass off during the summer to get back physically. So yeah, I knew what. So the resentments that's there will always be. There will always be a. And I'll give it to you. Here's a good one for all of us. You have sometimes you put your sneaker on, and all of a sudden you have a pebble or a rock or something in your shoe, and you can't find it. But then you put your shoe back on, you shake it and do whatever it is. You put your shoe back on, but that damn same pebble is still there. That same pebble is still there for me when I think about how I got traded and the things that went along with it. Now, am I appreciative to the Celtics for being back with the organization? Yes, I am. But still, I still harbor that resentment there.
Yeah. Last thing we'll move on to, we hit it earlier. And again, I'm really interested in your perspective as a professional athlete. Luka Doncic, we know what happened, right? He gets traded, the things that are said about him. And again, this is another person traded from a place he didn't want to leave from a place that thought he was Dallas. He wasn't just part of that team, and what he meant to the community, what he meant to the fans there. One of the more shocking sports trades of my lifetime, for real. No hyperbole. And everyone, I think, felt the same way. And then you hear all these things said about you. Well, his commitment, his this, his that, his physical condition. We never thought that. We couldn't win with him. I don't want to spend this kind of money on him. I'm going to do a contract. And I think one of the most predictable things ever happened, which is a 25-year-old person in their physical prime decided, I'm going to work out for a couple of months and then come back in shape, which is literally all it took. So the men's health spread, we see the pictures on the screen. He looks great. He looks like an NBA player should look.
He doesn't even look like himself.
Right.
When you look at the picture, you're going, he got the head of Luka, but
yeah.
Did they Photoshop the body on it?
So what's crazy to me is, and I have, tremendous respect for, anybody who does this for a living and what they put themselves through and just how elite they are compared to like normal humans and the rest of us, what they're able to do. But also staying in shape shouldn't be that hard. Like being in the greatest shape possible, that's fine. But being Luka Doncic and being in as horrible shape as he was the last year or 2 years, you could throw some injuries in there too. I'm almost shocked this didn't happen sooner, like that he needed the kick in the butt here. So it seems so easy, but for some people it's not. What are we missing behind the scenes here in terms of athletes doing what they have to do, which is, imagine, I mean, you're a teacher, you're an academic, and you don't read about your subjects, and then you go in and you try to teach. You're a basketball player, and you don't do everything possible to get yourself in terrific shape. What are we doing here? I understand the guys who during the year might drink a little or, not condition themselves and let some stuff slide, and you see that happen a lot. Some guys enter the year and they balloon as it goes because they're not staying on a program. How in the world does Luka come back year after year still looking doughy when all it really took for him was a couple of months of getting with a trainer, eating right, and being and looking like that? It's amazing. It's transformative.
Enablers.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That you have people who were enablers. That you have people who were not holding him accountable. He wasn't holding himself accountable. If you look in the mirror, you're not holding yourself accountable. At 25 years old, I could eat all of Dunkin' Donuts and Krispy Kreme and wouldn't gain a freaking pound because that's my body metabolism was like that. For him to do what he did at that time and to be playing the amount of minutes he played, it's almost impossible to see how that could happen.
Yeah.
One, you were an enabler. One, you were drinking beer. One, you were doing all those things. And he's not in the 80s where, that's what they had during that time.
Yeah, when everybody's doing it.
Beer drinking was in. I saw Larry Bird do that, transform, where he decided, hey, I'm going to put down the beer. I'm not going to drink. And I watched him lose weight and had one of his best seasons. So I think Luka's going to have a fine season. But there's a lot of teams out there in the Western Conference right now. It ain't going to matter. It's not going to matter. OKC is out there. Dallas has become much better. San Antonio is going to be really good. Houston is going to be very, very good. Denver still has the Joker. So where do you even start when you begin with the Lakers? Are they 6? Are they 7? Where do you look at them? And LeBron James is 40,000 years old. That's what I'm saying. 40,000 years old. I mean, now there were dinosaurs, and now there's.
This isn't about, Max. This isn't about this year for the Lakers because this is clearly we're about to move on from LeBron, and now it's Luka's team, Lakers. He's about to sign a mega extension with this, and it's going to be Luka's Lakers for the rest of time. This is what it is. This version of Luka and what he could potentially do. Everybody wants to play in LA. Everyone wants to play in LA, New York, Miami. The Lakers can't stay down for very long because they're the Lakers. People want to be there. It's interesting, like this 2.0 Luka phase.
You say that. How long would it? Everybody wants to play in New York City. How long have the Knicks been down?
Yeah. I mean, you can still manage. You can still manage that situation poorly.
The next time the Knicks won the championship, yours truly was a senior in high school. 1973. So you can be bad. It doesn't necessarily mean because you're the Lakers, all of a sudden you're going to improve.
Right.
I think that I'm going to be fascinated to see that transition that you talk about with LeBron leaving. Is this LeBron's last year? If you're a wagering man, is this LeBron James last year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, this will be a yes or no.
I don't know. I don't know what he wants.
No. There are two words here. Yes or no. Do you think this is last year, or you don't think it's last year?
I don't.
Oh, you said
I think it's his last year in LA.
Oh, okay.
But I don't.
And he finishes where? In New York?
I think New
York. Does he finish in New York with the Knicks?
I think he's looking for a. I think he wants the signature. I think he wants to end it on the upswing. I wouldn't shock me if LeBron managed his way to a particular team next year for whatever money was left over, simply to see if we can do a super team up one time and win it and ride off into the sunset. I don't think he's going to go out on getting knocked out in the first round of a 7 seed. That's my opinion, but we'll see. I mean, again, we do have to point out the Lakers were a 3 seed this year, which was shocking because you just didn't expect that, to happen. So I don't know how bad they're going to be this year, but a new Luka changes anything. The thing I'm just more fascinated with is how did he keep coming back each year looking the way he looked when all he had to do was basically he could have been in passable shape, Max, just doing like a suburban dad's workout 3 times a week, and hop on the Peloton a couple times. Just don't be a slob,
You calling the guy a slob? I wouldn't say he was a slob. If you compare him to what he is now,
the before and after. I mean, again, you shouldn't have dad bod at 25. That's all I'm saying.
And we'll agree with that. And that's where we'll end. And next week I got a few surprises for some of you next week.
Stuff up the sleeve.
I hope you stay tuned. I got a segment, and I'm gonna call it right now. I'm gonna call it. Nope. I am gonna call it. I'm gonna call it. It's gonna call the 3 wise men.
Okay.
And I got a couple of compadres who are gonna come along with me, and we're gonna talk about all kind of things that are relevant, because we're talking about, between the 3 of us, I think if we put our ages together, we're about 250.
That's what the kids want.
We have but we have an NBA most valuable player. We have a guy who was taken with the 2nd pick in the league, and all these guys are still relevant. So their opinions, they know more than a lot of people have forgotten.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting what we have for you next week. So be prepared for the 3 wise men next week, and we'll go from there.
And Amit, you can go ahead and edit that out. And we will say,
forget about Ahmed. You better not take that out, Ahmed.
Amit, take it out. Take it out.
All right, we'll holler back there.
No, it's all good. Anyway, thanks again to Max. One more shout out to our sponsor over at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Use the code CLNS. Play 5, get 50 instantly in your account. Once again, code CLNS, play 5, get 50 instantly in your account. And also, we should say that for those of you watching here on YouTube, please subscribe, leave us comments, talk to us. Maybe I can get Max to jump in there and comment back. If you're listening to the pod on wherever you listen to pods, please rate and review. That stuff really helps us. It helps with visibility. It helps get us pressed and played and out there for more people to listen and to help grow our audience. We do appreciate you all sticking with us throughout this offseason. And as Max said, fun and exciting stuff coming next week. But thank you for listening and watching this week, and we'll see you all next time.